Jews have a higher proportion of scientists in their population than most other nationalities. You have probably never seen a Jew on TV arguing against evolution. The reason that that's true, Jews say up front that although the story of Adam and Eve came out of their culture, they say Adam and Eve is a metaphor, a myth, an allegory, just a human way of explaining the origin of things, not a scientific treatise. In fact, I showed a quotation in my last series from a Jewish scientist who said that evolution is finally catching up with Judaism. So the problem we have in this country is that we have people who have taken a myth, an allegory, a metaphor, a human way of trying to explain something that was unexplainable at the time that they began talking about it. And they accept that as being literal and absolute. There are many people who go to church tomorrow who be taught from the pulpit that God created a man named Adam and a woman named Eve. They'll have no knowledge of the fact that the original name of Adam in the Hebrew meant mankind. Not a man, but mankind. And that the original word for mother that we call Eve in English meant mother, not a woman, but mother. Just as when they hear that there's only one name under which you can be saved, and that name is Jesus, it will never occur to them that Jesus is not a Hebrew word. And that the J in the English language did not come into usage till about the year 1200. Did not become popular until the year 1500. And that Mary, the mother of Jesus, whose name also was not Mary, would not have named her child, who was a Hebrew child, with an English name 1,200 years before English came into being. So what we have to begin to do is to get back behind the story behind the story, to try to figure out that as best we can what's really going on and what can we rely on. Much of what we believe comes out of mythology, and myths are very important. I'm spending a lot of time on the whole question of evolution and creationism because it sets the basis for much of what we'll talk about for the rest of the time that we talk. So your hand, brother. Pass the microphone, please. Again, that's the...
Good morning. I wanted to speak about what I heard in the film, and that was that the culture wars are heating up. And I see that manifesting itself in several ways. One being that within the conservative movement in this country, the right wing, I see a split taking place as a result of intelligent design. I say that from several articles that I've seen, one being the well-known conservative Krauthammer, who writes for the Washington Post. He recently had an article in the paper wherein he took a position against intelligent design, criticized it strongly. And there was another article in the Wall Street Journal that dealt with evolution and intelligent design. The second point I wanted to make was that I see this manifesting itself in the colleges where intelligent design is being promoted by this group of which you're speaking, and they are putting pressure on professors not to speak about evolution, which to me results in the continuing dumbing down of Americans. So those are the 2 points that I want to make.
To be in a very difficult position in a few years. I saw an article just this past week in the New York Times, and by the way, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. You can read virtually every newspaper in the world online. I skim at least 10 newspapers every morning. The New York Times, the LA Times, Chicago Tribune, the Washington Post, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and on and on and on. The website, I'll give it once again, for the American newspapers is www.newsvoyager, NEWSVOYAGER.com, www.newsvoyager.com. There's a map of the United States. You pick the state you want to go to, click that state, all newspapers line up, and you read. Some you have to register for, but that's all right. It doesn't cost you anything. Similarly, for newspapers in the world, just go to Google and type in Google, in quotations, thousands of newspapers, end quote. And there are 4 or 5 sites that'll pop up. I like one better than the other, but pick the one you like. Many newspapers around the world are published in English. Now, give one quick example. Back a number of months ago, I heard a young white girl had been abducted or was missing in Aruba. Saw 2 black men arrested. My inclination was that those 2 black men probably didn't have a thing to do with that white woman. I was pretty much supported in that when I saw an interview with one of the black men's mama, who said that he might have cussed somebody, but he ain't touched no white woman. Found out later on that there were 3 other people had been arrested. But for 3 days, CNN, while they reported 3 other people had been arrested, kept playing the same tape over and over again of these 2 black men being led to the police station. I said to myself, I want to know what these 3 other people look like. I don't have time to wait for CNN. So I went to thousands of newspapers, went to the West Indies, pulled up the Aruban newspapers, and got the picture of Van der Sloot and the 2 Sudanese guys. I had it 3 or 4 days before CNN had it. Now, I figure CNN has people at least as intelligent as me, and they're being paid. So that it was probably not to their benefit culturally. They knew they had to show the picture at some point. But in that extra 3 or 4 days of reinforcement of these 2 black folks being led to the police station, even while the commentator reported 3 other people, I would dare say if you did a survey in the country today, most people believe the 2 black men did it. Just as they've done surveys that show that more than 60% of the people in this country believe today that Saddam Hussein has something to do with 9/11 when he didn't. You've got to begin to train yourself to move beyond the hype that's given to people every day. You're being programmed all day long, every day, to do things that are not in your interest necessarily, and very often in somebody else's direct interest. Brother Kaba, give him the microphone wherever it might be.
Just on that that note about the hype. Just the other day, I was talking to a young, I was talking to a lady. She was she's 51, and we were talking about the.
Thank you for calling her a young lady.
Thank you.
Right.
She was 51, and we were talking about the Xbox thing because they were talking about all the hoopla and the craziness. For those who don't know, the Xbox is this video game that everybody's just going crazy over. Every year there's always some madness over some item that everybody's killing each other and beating each other up over. Mm-hmm. So people were lined up all over the country at Walmart and other places like that at 3 o'clock in the morning to wait for the store to open so they can go in there and buy this $300 thing. And so I was saying, and this is ridiculous, you know, and whatever. And she said, well, You know what? I can kind of understand because, you know, they only, you know, they have a shortage. And I'm like, no, there's no shortage. They stagger the releases of these things. I mean, you think with a hot item, they know they have a hot item. You think they're going to only produce so many? I mean, now right after Christmas, they're going to have plenty of them. Watch. You know, they just trying to get people to the stores and jumpstart the economy.
Before Christmas.
Well, yeah, exactly, exactly. But I mean, she actually believed that what the news was saying about, you know, them having a shortage of them this year.
Do you know how much it costs?
What's that?
Do you know how much it costs?
$300.
Okay, because I heard somebody say it cost over $1,000.
No, it cost. I mean, well, I think it costs. It may. I mean, I think it costs like $300.
What was happening was that people were buying them first and then selling them on eBay for way more than what it cost.
Okay.
For those people that just had to have it before anybody else can get it, they go on eBay and pay $1,000, I guess.
Now y'all talk real soft about people standing in line, because I believe our cameraman was standing in line last week. He told me he got a bargain though, so it's all right.
Well, you know what? I got a thing just this morning online where I don't know if it's true or not, but they were saying how you can get one for free. And it was the same thing that I got online. I actually got a phone. I got one of those Motorola Razrs for free online. And it was from the same people that sent me the thing for that. So it was saying that you can get the thing for free.
Almost, you know, I've learned recently. Anybody know what news groups are? You know, there are ways in this country of getting almost everything free, except they don't tell you. I had a situation, just to digress for a second. I had a situation 2 weeks ago. Somebody gave me a $1,000 check written on a bank in Silver Spring. I deposited in my bank on New Hampshire Avenue, near Military Road, near Missouri Avenue. Probably 10 minutes away from Silver Spring. It took them 5 business days, 7 calendar days to clear that check. In the interim, while they showed my posted balance was $1,000, my available balance was not. In the interim, while they showed my posted balance being $1,000, they bounced 2 of my checks. One for $200, one $50. And they charged me $30 twice. Didn't say I didn't have the money. Just wasn't available to me. It obviously was available to them because they charged me $30 and subtracted it with no problem. Twice, okay? I went to the bank. I called the customer service folk. They didn't care. They were brusque, very nasty. I went to the bank, talked to a young lady in the bank, and she didn't care either. She was very brusque. Happened to be in the bank another day. Saw a brother in there. He seemed to be trying to help people, so I said, let me try with him. And so I asked him, was he a bank officer? He said, yes, he was. I said, may I speak to you in your office a moment, please? He said, yes, come on in the office. I told him, you'll probably lose me as a customer come January 1 because of the way you all did me. Here's what he told me. He said, next time you come in, tell the cashier to deposit that check as cash.
That's right.
I said, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
As cash?
He said, we don't advertise that.
Yes.
But if you tell her to deposit the check as cash, she will.
Which is from the deposit slip though.
Sir?
Which is from the deposit slip.
The deposit didn't matter. The point was, she's going to cash the check on the spot. Didn't have to go to the bank to cash.
Was you electronically verified at the
She wasn't going to verify nothing.
So what if it cost $1,000?
The code was you tell her to deposit as cash. That's the code.
Was there a problem later?
So whenever you deposited the check,
If it was a problem, it wouldn't be my problem.
Be their problem.
It'd be their problem.
But was it a bank check or a bank?
It was a personal check. But the code was you tell her to deposit as cash. I thought when you bought computer programs and you sent away for the authentication code, I thought they had you on a big computer somewhere in the sky, in the company, you know. I found out now there are programs called crack programs available on the internet. Where you can get an authentication code off the internet
Crack.com.
without paying for nothing. Everything in this country is organized for those who understand how it works.
And just for my phone, I just went to Google and put in free Motorola Razr V3 phone.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of stuff popped up.
Pop it up. Yeah.
And I clicked on one of them. I called the company to make sure it was real. They said, yeah.
Yeah.
Like questions, survey questions.
No, it wasn't that one because I didn't want to do that one. There was one.
I used to think that folks who sat in first class paid a whole lot of money for the tickets. Until I got to be National Director of Phi Beta Sigma. I signed my name on a contract saying I would encourage our members to fly Eastern Airlines. Not that I would bring them to the airlines, not that I would buy the ticket. I would just encourage them to do that. I flew first class 12 years. My youngest son, who you all saw in this class, they told me had the youngest Eastern Airlines frequent flyers ticket booklet in the country. He never flew coach till he was 8 years old. Pitched a fit in the airplane. Mad. Because he's a flying coach. I need to move on. Whoa, very quickly.
Well, and you in here know the regular population know it, but I'm sure you should show some of it. The guy who, black guy who, oh, hello. I mean, I don't know whether you in here know it or not, but the black guy who invented a chip or something to go into the cell phone, he was black. And it wouldn't been for him, it wouldn't be no, operation of a cell phone. But when I saw in the newspaper, they were talking about him, they didn't have his picture, and they didn't say what color he was. But now if he had did a crime, they would have his picture and say what color he was. I only knew what color he was when I saw it in the jet. So just like you say, it's certain things they disclose, you have to read the undercurrent, do your research, because you know that anything positive that we do is not going to be disclosed.
Mark Dean, who we've talked about in class. Mark Dean, black man, alive today, one of the vice president of IBM. He did not invent the CPU, the central processing unit. All he did was figure out how to make the central processing unit talk to everything else. Keyboard, display, tape drives, he's alive today. He's about my age. You've never seen this picture broadcast anywhere. Joseph Emawali, black man, alive today, living in this area. Had it not been for the experiment he did, linking 52,000 computers together through the Los Alamos laboratory by himself, solved the problem all their scientists together couldn't solve. And did it over the telephone, by the way. Had he not done that, we wouldn't have internet today.
I think it's kind of tough, man.
I'm talking about internet, not cell phone.
Oh, okay.
Joseph Emawali, alive today. We are one of the best kept secrets on the planet. Now, had he robbed somebody, he'd be on 6 o'clock news.
That's right.
We have to research things for ourselves, and we find these things out. Imagine how many black folks lived and died without ever knowing the black man invented the traffic light, the gas mask. Lived and died, didn't think we did a thing in the world. The black man who did the coupler, McCoy, he was so good, people would start copying him. And folks recognized that there were people out there copying him, so when they went to buy an item, they'd ask, is this the real McCoy? I thought the real McCoy was a television program.
The real McCoy, man.
I learned that one more thing I'll be through. I've been working on through my way through 500 nations about the Indian folks who lived here before the white settlers came.
Native American.
Native American. And I thought that our founding fathers had come up with this wonderful governmental system we have now. I've now found out it was the Haudenosaunee Indian nation that did it. 5 nations of Indians who got together for centuries, organized a pact to have the representative type government that we now have in this country. Benjamin Franklin went and studied with them. According to information that was shown in 500 Nations, when the Continental Congress took place, they actually housed the Haudenosaunees upstairs in Independence Hall as consultants.
I think it's in the Magna Carta. Somebody said.
Magna Carta was back in England. I'm talking about the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. You know, the point is, nobody has ever told me that the founding fathers did not invent that themselves. I never heard about the Haudenosaunee. Certainly was not told they was right there at the meeting. Yes, ma'am. 500 Nations is was shown on television several years ago. I'm gonna show it in this course. You can get it on DVD now. Talk to me after class. I'll get it for you. I need to move on.
Before you go, all this discussion, intelligent design, creationism, evolution. Can you briefly? Can we just go back over what do they claim intelligent design is?
They're trying to say that intelligent design should be taught as a science. What they're really saying is that God created human beings. When they say God, they're not talking about the God that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. The God the way Egyptians saw him. They're talking about the God the way the Hebrews understood God to be. So your whole concept of God comes out of your culture and out of the mythology you've been